Hello, and welcome to Candidates Upfront, a public interest election program of Berks Community Television and the League of Women Voters of Berks County. Our November 7th general election is coming up. Citizens who are 18 or older will vote for judges, school directors, and township, borough, and city officials. The deadline to register to vote is October 23rd. To check your voting status, go to vote.pa.gov. That's vote.pa.gov. You can register, change your party, locate your polling place, or apply for an absentee or mail-in ballot. And the deadline to apply for those is October 31st. If you are looking for information on statewide, school, or township races or borough officials, please use the League's online voters guide, vote411.org. That's vote411.org. And for information on countywide and Reading candidates, please stay tuned. The League interviewed candidates in contested races, those who wanted to be interviewed, and for each race, the candidates got the same basic questions and had the same amount of time to answer them. For the League, I'm Judith Cranus, and let's begin.
Hello, I'm Kay Herring, a member of the League of Women Voters of Berks County. And we have 4 candidates who are competing for 3 seats as Berks County Commissioner. They are Democrats Dante Santoni Jr. and Jess Royer, and Republicans Christian Leinbach and Michael Rivera. You as a voter vote for 2 candidates. However, out of the 4 people running, the 3 that get the highest votes will be elected to office. The Board of Commissioners is the chief governing body of the county. The 3 elected at-large members perform executive and legislative functions of county government. The term is 4 years, and the current annual salary for a commissioner is $110,339. The commissioner chair is $113,678. Each candidate's views are their own and not those of the League or of BCTV. This interview is with Michael Rivera. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Kay. Glad to be here.
Let's start off by, if you would please tell the viewers about yourself and why are you running for office?
Absolutely. So, like Kay said, I'm Michael Rivera. I'm currently a commissioner. I'm in my first term here in Berks County. Married to my wife, Zilke. I have 2 kids. My son is 22. My daughter is 17. I've been a Berks County resident for many years. Also serve at the West Lawn United Methodist Church, where my family and I attend. I'm on various committees there. The reason I'm running is because I'm in currently my first term. There's a lot of things that I have been working on, and the board has been working on, and I want to make sure that there's continuity with those items, and there's some I'm going to talk a little bit about in the next questions, but I want to make sure that there's continuity in what we have been doing. One of them is around fiscal responsibility. We need to make sure that the county keeps and maintains itself in a strong financial situation. Just like at your home, Kay, if you're not in a strong financial situation, if you're always worrying about money, that's what you think about all the time. You can't think about, okay, what do I do next to grow? What do I do next to help out my family? You're just worrying about how do I pay my next bill. So fiscal responsibility is something that is key for me. The county has not raised taxes since 2018. We've been working hard to be fiscally responsible and make good use of county taxpayer dollars. And I want to make sure that I'm able to continue in that for the next 4 years.
Okay, great. Thank you. We will talk about some specific topics soon. There are some other questions. But what do you feel is the most important thing that you would want to accomplish if you are elected, or maybe the top couple of items?
Okay. So one I had already mentioned, which is fiscal responsibility. We want to make sure that the county remains in a strong financial position. Right now we are rated as AAA, which is the highest bond rating that you can get. There's only 3 counties in Pennsylvania that have a AAA bond rating. We are one of them. What that basically means, if you compare it to someone's credit score, it's in 850, the highest that you can get. And that's where Berks County is at because of our sound financial principles. Other areas that I want to be able to focus on and accomplish is returning passenger rail to Berks County here in Reading. That's something that we've been working on for the last 2 to 3 years. I want to make sure that we're continuing to work on that and see if that can become a reality here in Berks County. The other is continue working on the Reading Regional Airport. That's a huge asset in Berks County. There's a lot of good things going on right there. We want to make sure that the airport continues in the right direction where there's growth and sustainability in the airport. And the other thing I want to focus on also is having great parks and outdoor spaces here in Berks County. We saw how extremely important those were through COVID, where people needed to get out, walk around, spend time with their families outdoor. So I want to focus on that as well.
Okay. You mentioned this a little bit actually in that question, but this question is specifically about economic development. Mm-hmm. Do you feel policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage sustainable, well-paying jobs throughout the county?
Yeah. We need to continually look at factors that change throughout the years and make those changes to policy to be able to ensure that we do have well-paying jobs here in Berks County. And about 3 years ago, we hired Pamela Shump-Mennett, who's our Director of Community and Economic Development, just to do that, to say, okay, what does Berks County need to do to be able to attract and retain businesses that are well-paying jobs, that are family-sustaining jobs here in Berks County. So that's something that's very important that we look at that on an ongoing basis. We also have a very strong workforce development board because investment in workforce is something that's key as well. If we don't have a good workforce, we're not going to be able to attract companies to come to Berks County. So we need to make sure that we have a good workforce, a strong workforce in the industries that are here in Berks County and that are looking to move into Berks County. One of which of them is manufacturing. Manufacturing is a huge industry here in Berks County. The average income or salary in manufacturing here is $68,000 a year, which is a family-sustaining job here, and most of them have benefits as well, health benefits, 401ks, and so forth. So we do need to continue to invest in workforce development and attracting businesses here to Berks County, but we want to make sure that we're attracting the businesses that are those that will provide these well-paying jobs with benefits.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Weather damage has increased throughout the county. There's 3 questions here, but we can go through them or I'll come back to them. What can the county do to lessen the risk and damage? Should Berks have a sustainability plan? And is the change in weather figured into the county's land use planning?
Okay, so a few things here. One, the county has it's called a comprehensive plan. It's revisited every 10 years. And in that, it basically recommends to the municipalities what should be developed in what areas, keeping many things, one among this in mind here. Okay, so we need to make sure that there's sound planning by the Planning Commission to make sure that we do have sustainability, that we are looking at these changes that are happening right now. Reading Public Museum, there's a lot of flooding going on there. In other areas, so we're looking into that to see what can be done. We need to make sure that all planning is sound. We also need to work with the municipalities because there's only certain things that the county can do. It's the municipalities who determine zoning, who determine what can go where. So we need to make sure that the municipalities have sound plans as well to make sure that this is being looked at and that it's part of their plan as well. Something that I've asked of our Planning Commission is that we revisit that comp plan instead of every 10 years, that we do it on a more regular basis. Things change, plans change, needs change, so we want to make sure that we're looking at that plan on a regular basis. Something also around sustainability. We look at sustainability in many things that we do at the county. One of them currently is we're updating the electrical system at the services center to make sure that it's more efficient, to make sure that we're saving as much as possible there and making good use of our electric there. We do that on a regular basis. I meet regularly with our facilities department, and he gives me updates on what we're doing to try to be more sustainable at the county level. So this is something that we do need to look at and see what we can do and do our part in sustainability.
Okay. Let's talk about infrastructure. Berks County has infrastructure, and the county funds that infrastructure. Things like agricultural land preservation, libraries, parks, technology, public transportation, and more. And is to encourage the local economy and make Berks a desired location. Are we doing enough, however, and is there anything you would increase or improve?
Okay. So in 2021, the Board of Commissioners requested a study be done, and it's called Imagine Berks, and it's an economic development plan. That plan was approved and put into place last year, about a year ago at this time. We had a 6-month update, and we just recently had a 1-year update on that. And that plan addresses this specifically. So the Imagine Berks plan addresses 6 key focus areas. And these areas were brought forth because they were areas that when we looked at the plan, we had a third party come in and interview, do research, and look and say, okay, what does Berks County need to do to be a place where people want to come to live, work, start a business, raise a family, rather than moving elsewhere. So these areas are 6 areas of focus, and the important thing about this plan, Kay, is that we said we don't want a plan where we're going to pay for it, we're going to stick it in a drawer or put it on the shelf and have it gather dust, but it's a plan, we want an actionable plan with measurable outcomes. And that's what we've done. We've looked at it, and we've had, there's implementation groups that work on these different areas, and they regularly meet and give us updates. There are goals that we want to accomplish, and we're working towards those goals. So this plan is really talking about this as to what can we do as a county to increase our chances of having people come in and move to the county.
Okay. So one of the things you mentioned in some of your opening statements was about the airport. The county recently took control of the local airport. What are your views on how this will affect the local economy, and should it be a county function?
Okay. So one of the things to keep in mind here is that the county does not provide any money to the airport. The airport is actually, it's a separate authority. It's self-sustaining. So they are able to pay their bills every month and run independently of the county. But the airport is a huge asset in Berks County. Mm-hmm. Actually, the Reading Regional Airport is the 12th in economic impact in the state. So the Reading Regional Airport is in the top 10% of all airports throughout the Commonwealth based on data from PennDOT. So this is looked at, and was just looking at, before I walked in here, when I saw the question, there was an article in WFMZ, which I had spoken about this at one of our commissioners' meetings a few months ago, and the total economic impact of the airport in 2021 was $77.9 million to the county. So when we look at the airport, we don't only want to look at, is it self-sustaining, is it not, but what other impact does it have on the county, on job creation, on people coming in, landing fees, it has many positive impacts on the county, and we want to make sure that we continue to grow the airport and continue to grow its impact here in the county. Again, having a good county airport in the county also helps the part about job creation. The more access people have, the better it is.
Okay, great. Let's talk about prisons. Okay. What are your thoughts on when we should build a new prison, how large a facility we should have, and what programs should we have to prevent recidivism?
Okay, and that's a good question. As you may know, a few years ago we started, well, actually it started before I was a commissioner, but we picked it back up a couple years ago. looking at the prison, understanding that there is a need for that. But one thing we said is, you know what, once COVID started, we saw what might be the price tag for the prison. We said, now is not the time to do that. When will be the time? I don't know that. I can't predict what the economy is going to do. But when many families are struggling now to pay mortgages, the cost of living keeps on increasing, I feel it's important to try to be as fiscally responsible as possible in the county rather than adding on a huge debt to the county at this time. But one of the other issues in jail, not only here but throughout the Commonwealth and other places as well, is mental health in jails. The state closed down all mental health institutions, and now people with mental health issues have to deal with that in the jail. So that's one thing we have to look at to say, okay, how can we deal with mental health, try to take that out of the prison, because that's not the best place to deal with people with mental health issues. How can we take that out of the prison to be able to reduce the prison population, so when we build, we're building a jail that's smaller than what we have now, but that's able to meet the needs of the county, which I don't feel should be mental health. I don't feel mental health should be in the jail. Recidivism is something that's very important for us right now, and we do have many programs in place geared towards recidivism.
Okay. County commissioners are responsible for the county government's workforce. Are we right-sized, and are we paying enough to attract the talent that we need?
Okay, it's a very interesting question. The county just went through a study. We hired a third party, RKL, and what they did was they went in and reviewed all the job descriptions for all non-union employees, because union employees already, they have their contract. So they looked at non-union employees and said, okay, what is the job description? And looking at counties around us, looking at private industry around it, based on the job they do, are they being paid fairly? Because we want to make sure that we're able to attract good employees and that we're able to retain those employees as well. So through that study, we made some changes in our pay ranges, in the salaries. So I feel that at this point, yes, we are at a point that we are now able to attract and maintain quality employees because of the pay that we have. Also, look at that, understanding that we also have to be mindful that they're paid with taxpayer dollars, so you also have to keep that in mind as well. But yes, I do feel that we are able to attract the talent that we need.
Okay. The Berks County workers have a retirement fund, but that fund has not had a cost of living increase to retired workers for more than 25 years. Yet elected officials get regular cost of living increases. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so the county has a defined benefit pension plan, and it's a life plan. So no matter how long you live after you retire, you have your pension there. The other thing about it's because it is a defined benefit plan, no matter what the market does, your pension is guaranteed. Not like a 401k. If your 401k investments go down, you're in trouble. With a defined benefit plan, you're going to get your amount no matter if the market is doing well or the market is not doing well. So the burden really of that lies on the taxpayers of the county. So we want to make sure that we're running a stable plan. We have our consultants that help us do that, but because of the type of plan it is, it's based off of what you made when you retired. At this point, I don't see any changes in increasing the pension plan.
Okay. This is a big topic, election laws in Pennsylvania. We have a couple minutes yet, and then I'm going to ask you to give your closing statement.
Okay.
But so if you want to put those together, that's fine. The question is, Pennsylvania election laws are set by the Commonwealth, but elections are run by the counties. Do you feel changes should be made to the election law? And please explain your views on that.
Okay. Well, there's quite a few changes that need to be made to the election law. Here in Pennsylvania, there have been no changes made to the election law since 2020. I'm currently the vice president for the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, which is a bipartisan group, and we have an elections committee, and the elections committee has been asking for changes to the election law to be able to make sure that we're able to run the elections in a way that's more feasible for the counties. Among those specifically asked for by the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania was to allow for pre-canvassing, which means that we can start opening up the ballots before Election Day, not counting them, not running them through the machines, just being able to prepare them for when the time comes, we're able to run them, count them quicker. The other thing is to push back the mail-in ballot deadline, which basically means instead of 7 days out, either 14 or more days out, it allows time for then the county to prepare. And there's a few other things such as cleaning the voter rolls, deciding what to do with undated ballots, and signature verification, among others. But I know we're running out of time, so I won't get more into detail, although there's a lot more that should go into that. But.
Well, yes, and thank you. Actually, you've been very detailed in answering the questions. So we thank you very much, Michael Rivera, for sharing your views with us. Viewers, please remember, and this is important, there are 4 candidates for commissioner. Democrats Jess Royer and Dante Santoni Jr., and Republicans Christian Leinbach and Michael Rivera. Remember, you vote for 2, although the top 3 vote getters will be the ones that are elected. You will find Candidates Upfront interviews on BCTV and its website and YouTube page. For more information on candidates, you can also go to the League's online voter guide, vote411.org. I'm Kay Herring. Thank you for watching Candidates Upfront, and have a good day.